Desirae. Hope you're starting to feel a little bit better. I'm definitely with you on the headaches piece of how you were feeling earlier this week. This weather has been like killing me with the headaches. So it is not fun. I hope that that has at least gotten a little bit better for you since Tuesday. But everything that you sent, as usual, for your videos looks awesome. So we're just gonna kind of break it down a little bit. There's actually some stuff that we're gonna wait to get to until I see you here next week. So this will probably go fairly quickly because there's not quite as much as we would normally probably go over in a lesson video. Not a bad thing, just how it happens to fall this particular week. So this starts, and yours will have started on Tuesday, but for our practice competition, week 2 is officially going as of Tuesday. So this is your reminder to make sure that you're keeping track of your practice minutes, that you're filling them in on your sheet so that you can get the points that you need to hopefully be in the top 3 and win a prize next month. Everyone, for the most part, it seems, had a fairly slow first week, so don't feel bad if you weren't able to get in quite as much practice as you would like. That seems to be the general trend for most of my students. Just keep doing your best, and just the biggest thing is not to forget. I think the students who just totally forgot to keep track of the minutes, they're the ones who are in a little bit more trouble in the long run. So if you're doing the work and you're putting in the practice time, just make sure you're getting your minutes down so you can get credit for that. Let's see, next thing is that our workshop, our first workshop back for the school year, will be this coming Monday. So I just need to know, we have some good options for which song you'd like to do. I'll just need to know what you kind of want to land on. We have Be Our Guest and King William's March, which are both in the final stages of getting to be performance ready. I think they're at the not necessarily awkward, but kind of that in-between place where we've learned them and we've put in most of the work, but they're still a little fuzzy around the edges, so to speak. They still need a little bit of polishing before we would necessarily present them to an audience. So that's perfectly fine. Remember, workshops don't have to be something that's performance ready. It just has to be something that you know, right? Even if we're still kind of working out some of the kinks in a couple places. So I think both of those would be a good option. If you'd like, another option would also be, this week to review Over the Rainbow. So if you'd rather review our lead sheet and do Over the Rainbow for your piece on Monday, that would be another good option too. Whenever you decide, and whatever you decide, just let me know so that way I can kind of plan ahead for that. And that'll be Monday, and then I'll see you on Tuesday for your lesson. So that takes care of that. We are gonna wait for your next lesson to do a new sight reading exercise from our theory book. So you still just have a theory break, nothing to take care of in your theory book for this week. And then your E-flat pentascale and triads looked excellent. So we don't need to keep working on those unless you'd like to review them for some extra practice time for the competition, but we're gonna also wait to start some new technique until I see you next time. I have a new technique page for you, and it's something that I would prefer for us to be able to go over together. So we'll just hold off a week on that. Let's see. Something that I am gonna have you do this week is actually start a new Hanon. So it's been a little bit of time since our last Hanon. The last one we did was number 6. We're gonna go ahead and move on to start number 7 this week. And this will just be a little bit more of an independent start. So I'm gonna have you take a look at it on your own this week. The pattern is nothing that's too tricky. Some of them kind of throw you for a loop a little bit, but this one should be fairly straightforward, which is kind of nice. The only thing that you'll have to look out for is you do have a finger change for your right hand, of course, at the very, very end of the first page. So like your other exercises, your first page has the ascending pattern that goes up, second page has the descending pattern coming down. So let's just stick with the first page for this week. I'm just gonna have you start to take a look at that. Just one hand at a time is perfectly fine. So that's the only real potential hiccup, where if you're not keeping track or you're not paying attention for it, you might miss it. Your right hand does have a finger change in the very last measure of the ascending pattern. For the most part though, you can combine watching your finger numbers and your notes. It's gonna be a little bit different in that you're only gonna be setting up in a 5-finger pattern. All of our other exercises up to this point, we've had an extended pattern. Very slightly extended, it's only covering a 6th, right? That was our first one, but your pinky and your thumb are covering the interval of a 6th from C to A, right? All of the other patterns up to this point have covered a 6th in the basic hand position within the measure. This one's a little different because it's only going to cover a 5th. So you're just going to be in basically C pentascale position, covering C, D, E, F, G with your 5 fingers for the first measure. And then your shift will actually happen over the bar line when you go from the first measure into the second measure. So a little bit different there, but I think you'll be perfectly fine to take a look and start working that out on your own. But like I said, just that first page, the ascending pattern, start at hands alone. If you get to a point where you can try it together, awesome. If not, that's totally okay. We just want to get a little bit of a jump on that over the next few days. Let's see, our songs here. So King William's March looks great. I love how careful you're still being with your practice on that last line, because every single thing that you did on every section, your parts lined up perfectly. So I would much prefer that it's as slow as it needs to be for as long as it needs to be, as long as everything is lining up correctly and we're not inventing notes, we're not switching up and doing bizarro new fingering, we're not having one hand kind of drop off the grid or something. You know, any of those issues we are avoiding because you're being so careful about making sure that everything is lining up between the 2 hands exactly the way it's supposed to. So awesome work there. What did I want to go over here? Oh, there was just one little section I want to double check a note. So it was measure 10. I can't remember if we had done this in the lesson last time. We may have already marked this. I don't remember without seeing your music. So if we have, we may just want to mark it a little bit differently just to make sure that we remember exactly where to go. But on measure 10, your first note for the left hand, that half note there, your thumb is wanting to go to G, but that note is actually an A. Remember, your left hand for measures 9 and 10, you're just doing an A octave. So you're starting with your thumb on A in measure 9, then you go down to A for the second half of measure 9, and then measure 10, we come back up to the A. And then if you notice, your 8th notes on the second half of measure 10 also start on A. So your hand doesn't actually have to move there. Now you're getting the 8th notes. All of those are correct. We are starting on A for the first 8th note. Looks great. So we're just missing that first half note A for measure 10. Wanting it to be G instead of A. So just double check that if you need to circle it, if you need to write A, if you need to draw arrows or some other indication to yourself to help yourself remember that that specific note we need to pay a little extra attention to. Whatever works for you, let's go ahead and mark that some way so that we're more likely to remember in practice for the rest of the week. That was the only thing I needed to go over as far as something that you weren't doing correctly. So you're doing an awesome job on it. Like I've said before, it's definitely a challenge piece, and you have done a really, really nice job at balancing all the work that has to go into this song. So good work there. Let's see, last thing is Be Our Guest. Be Our Guest, looking great. We've already got some good speed on that last section, so good for you. Let's see, I specifically wrote, ending looks great. Now we can start focusing more on speed. That's really the biggest next step here, is just getting the newer sections a little bit more comfortable faster. And each week that you've done this, I feel like it's improved a little bit in overall speed. We're getting closer and closer. So now we can start to focus pretty exclusively on the speed, making sure that the newer sections towards the end are getting more comfy, matching the speed of the beginning. I think there was, again, you're like the one note wonder this week. There was only one note that we needed to double check here on this song. So for this one, it's a note in your right hand, and it's measure 11. And I definitely remember we didn't make this mistake last week. So this could have just totally been a one-off in the recording. and most of the time you're practicing this just fine. And if that's the case, great. You don't even really have to listen to the next part. But measure 11 for your right hand. Remember, you have the F and C sharp there. Yes, okay. But paired with the D and A. Oh, no, wait. Am I making stuff up? No, I'm not. There's no F sharp in the key signature. Yes, that's right. Okay, really does sound terrible by itself. But it is correct. Remember, this section, when it goes fast enough, it's not going to sound quite that atrocious. So it'll be... Right? It sounds much more like the song. But if we isolate just that one part... Ooh, a little crunchy there. So... just keep an eye out for that. We played a C natural in the recording instead of C sharp, but when you were here previously, we had the C sharp with no problem. So again, that could just be a fluke that happened just on the time you were recording. If that's the case, disregard all of that. But there we go. I think that's everything. So again, very nice job. And I will see you here on Monday next for the workshop, and then on Tuesday for your lesson. Keep track of your minutes for the practice competition. And everything looks great. Very nice job. See you next week.